instruments for the promotion of social justice. Unions, the Pope teaches, should not only agitate for better wages and conditions, important as these are, they should promote the subjective dimension of work so that workers will not only have more, but will realize their humanity more fully in every respect. So unions should elevate the human qualities of work, a family wage, respectful and safe conditions. So the text goes very nicely along with your textbook. So also in the text, modern ideologies such as communism and economic liberalism do not grasp the original meaning of work, and so they frustrate workers, impeding their response to God's call, thwarting their desire to fulfill their human nature. Both capitalism and communism tend to reduce labor to something less than it is. They value it exclusively in material and economic terms: efficiency, utility, and productivity. All of those terms are lacking an understanding of the subjective dimension. It's very important. So your text states that modern ideologies such as communism and economic liberalism do not grasp the original meaning of work, and also capitalism and communism tend to reduce labor to something less than it is. Now, the encyclical Laborem Exercens presented Catholic social teaching as a radical critique of communism and capitalism. Oppression and inequality in the world are caused by a disorder in the organization of labor. While capital is the result of labor, accumulated labor, and therefore should be united with labor and serve labor, in actual fact, capital has organized itself against labor in Western society. The encyclical formulated the fundamental principle of the priority of labor over capital. In today's world, in which industries are interconnected and related to public institutions, capital is meant to serve the entire laboring society. State ownership of the industries in itself offers no guarantee that the priority of labor over capital will be respected. The encyclical defended private ownership of productive goods, but added that ownership, whether private or public, is always conditional. Just like we know private property is limited. Also, this ownership of the goods and the production is also conditional. Isolating the means of production as separate property in order to set it up in the form of capital in opposition to labor, and even to practice exploitation of labor, is contrary to the very nature of these means, because the only legitimate title to their possessions is that they should serve labor. Laborem Exercens argued that the dignity of labor is such that laborers are entitled to co-own the goods they produce and thus share in the decisions regarding the use of their goods. Workers are also entitled to share in the decisions concerning the work process. According to John Paul II, workers are meant to be the subjects, fully responsible agents of production. This encyclical encouraged all movements that seek to extend workers' participation in ownership and management. Now, back to the subjective, being the full person, being elevated in your humanity through your labor, not just something that makes goods. That's a very important chunk of this encyclical. Now, what strategy must be adopted to transform the economic systems of West and East, so that the priority of labor be respected. And this is from the encyclical, paragraph 8. To achieve social justice in the various parts of the world, in the various countries, and in the relationship between them, there is a need for ever new movements of solidarity of the workers and with the workers. So, of them and with them. The Church is firmly committed to this cause, for it considers it to be its mission, its service, a proof of its fidelity to Christ, so that it can truly be the church of the poor. So, being the church of the poor, looking out for the condition that people go to work in. How much are they being paid? Are they being exploited? All of these things are part of the mission of the church. The encyclical ends with a profound consideration of Christ as a laborer, a carpenter in the workshop of his foster father Joseph in Nazareth. The Holy Father urged workers to consider that they imitate Christ as a laborer, and, more than that, they participate in his work of redemption. This is page 79 and page 80 of the green. Sweat and toil, which work necessarily involves the present condition of the human race, present the Christian and everyone who is called to follow Christ with the possibility of sharing lovingly in the work that Christ came to do. This work of salvation came about through suffering and death on a cross. By enduring the toil of work in union with Christ crucified for us, man in a way collaborates with the Son of God for the redemption of humanity. He shows himself a true disciple of Christ by carrying the cross in his turn every day, in the activity that he is called upon to perform. Christ, undergoing death itself for all of us sinners, taught us by example that we too must shoulder that cross, which the world and the flesh inflict upon those who pursue peace and justice, but also at the same time appointed Lord by his resurrection and given all authority in heaven and on earth. Christ is now at work in people's hearts through the power of his Spirit. He animates, purifies, and strengthens those noble longings by which the human family strives to make its life more human and to render the whole earth submissive to this goal. The Christian finds in human work a small part of the cross of Christ and accepts it in the same spirit of redemption in which Christ accepted his cross for us. In work, thanks to the light that penetrates us from the resurrection of Christ, we always find a glimmer of new life, of the new good, as if it were an announcement of the new heavens and the new earth, in which man and the world participate precisely through the toil that goes with work. Through toil and never without it. On the one hand, this confirms the indispensability of the cross in the spirituality of human work. On the other hand, the cross, which this toil constitutes, reveals a new good springing from work itself. From work understood in depth, and in all its aspects, and never apart from work. All right, folks, that's going to take us to about the 20-minute mark, so I think we'll leave it there. We have John Paul II, Laborem, Exercens. Take a look at the homework on Teacher Ease, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.